Dear friends, we gather this afternoon to remember and to celebrate the life of one who filled our world with her love, her goodness, her kindness, her extraordinary spirit, and unfailing example. In humility and gratitude, we turn to the wisdom of our tradition for comfort, for guidance, and for understanding. Throughout the centuries, at times of difficulty and of challenge, our people have said, "I lift my eyes to the mountains. From where comes my help? My help comes from God, the maker of heaven and of earth." Esainai el harim me'ayin yavo ezri. I lift up my eyes unto the mountains, from where does my help come? My help comes from Adonai, maker of heaven and of earth. Ezri me'im Adonai, ose shamayim va'aretz. Esainai el harim me'ayin yavo ezri. I lift up my eyes unto the mountains, from where does my help come? Our service is graced today by some of the clergy from our sister congregation, B'nai Jeshurun, which is where the Douglas family belongs. And I would call now on Rabbi Steve Weiss to share with us a reading from our tradition.
A Psalm of David. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul. He guideth me in straight paths for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Thou hast anointed my head with oil, my cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord forever.
Adonai, what are we that you have regard for us? What are we that you are mindful of us? We are like a breath. Our days are like a passing shadow. We come and go like grass, which in the morning shoots up renewed, and in the evening fades and withers. You cause us to turn to dust, saying, "Return, O mortal creatures." Would that we were wise, that we understood whither we are going, for when we die we carry nothing away. Our glory does not accompany us. Mark the wholehearted, and behold the upright. They shall have peace. When I die, give what's left of, when I die, remember me with a smile and laughter. If thoughts of me provoke no love, only sadness and tears, I ask that I be soon forgotten. Give what's left of me away to children and old ones who wait to die. And if you must cry, cry for your brother or sister who walks in grief beside you. And when you need me, put your arms around anyone and give them what you need to give to me. You can love me most by letting love live within the circle of your arms, embracing the frightened ones. Love doesn't die. People do. So when all that's left of me is love, give me away. My dear Elliot, Claire, dear members of the Douglas family, dear friends, in the aftermath of Margie's passing, tributes to her poured in from students, colleagues, school administrators, and parents. She was my favorite teacher at Northwood. She was always so kind and such a caring person. She really took an interest in teaching me to be the best person that I could be. She was a remarkably kind and caring teacher. She was a role model, not just to her students, but to other teachers. As a teacher, I have learned from her to be clear, firm, and kind, to laugh with my students, to share their joy. She was my mentor and teacher. It is because of Margie that I became a teacher. You know how loved she was. As son of her heart, Richard Douglas observed, she was the embodiment of a second-grade teacher. She embraced all of life with the kind, gentle, loving, uncomplicated, sweet, concerned, and sing-song tone of voice, characteristic of the way she greeted her students every day. She never seemed to change. Whatever the vicissitudes of her personal life, the losses, challenges, distresses, or defeats she might endure, she was always the same, smiling, supportive, encouraging, an unfailingly positive person. In fact, she personified and exemplified the ideal teacher as envisioned by the great 20th century rabbi, philosopher, theologian, and social justice advocate, Abraham Joshua Heschel. What we need more than anything else, he wrote, is not textbooks, but text people. It is the personality of the teacher which is the text that the pupils read, the text that they will never forget. The modern teacher of Judaism was his reference, but it applies to all teachers, is a link in the chain of a tradition. She is the intermediary between the past and the present as well. Yet she is also the creator of the future. She must teach the pupils to evaluate the past in order to clarify their future. Marjorie Zeaman was the quintessential text person. She conducted herself with such dignity and grace, such honesty and compassion, such consistency and constant concern for others, that she was unique in the annals of the Cleveland Heights, University Heights school system. As Rafi Simon, a librarian in the Cleveland Heights, University Heights system, testified, she was one of the teaching legends, quality, dedication, along with an understanding and love for students. They don't come any better. She knew or had taught 3 generations of students in one family. She remembered current parents as students in her class, and now grandparents had been friends of hers for years. A tribute from star student Sarah Davis was one of the first to arrive. In her second grade class, I learned how to write my own stories, and she made sure my story received recognition. She taught me that what I had to say was important, even if my handwriting was quite difficult to read. That I could go ahead from the rest of the class in math problems and compete with the boys academically. That I could help another student just arrived from Russia learn English, learn how our class operated, and that helping others join our community is of vital importance. But that was just 1 year in the nearly 40 years of our relationship. And for more than half of those years, I have also been a teacher. I have been lucky enough to have Mrs. Zeaman to call upon by phone, in person, and by memory as a role model of what a teacher can be. Modeling myself after Mrs. Zeaman, I have learned to allow my students to follow their own paths of creativity and try to help them also be recognized for their efforts. How to say difficult things kindly, as when she said to my parents when I was her student, "How nice that Sarah is reading all of these difficult books. Some of them are 3 grade levels ahead. Now we will work on her reading comprehension." Mrs. Zeaman has been an in-town grandmother for myself and my younger sister Becky for our bat mitzvahs, graduations, and weddings. She has been an extra doting great-grandmother for Richard's and my children, Madeline and Nathaniel, suggesting books and delighting in their accomplishments. She has listened to them play their instruments and tell her about their activities, and told us how wonderful they were. Mrs. Zeaman has been family for us, for me, and for my family. Sarah's mother, Nancy, wrote as well. My husband Chuck and I have known Margie since 1979. We had already heard about her from a friend who said we must insist that our 6-year-old daughter Sarah have Margie for her second grade teacher the next year, which we did. And so began our very close and wonderful friendship with Margie, this loving, bright, supportive woman. Her interest in our daughters and their educations and in our grandchildren never wavered over the years. She became family to us, attending weddings, birthday parties, and acting as grandmother to us all. We cherish in life those few who love our children and grandchildren as if they were their own. Margie will always be a role model for me of a courageous, independent woman whose love for her own family and other people's children embodied her life and her legacy. Margie's lifelong love of people and devotion to others was evident from her earliest years. She was the firstborn of Central European immigrants David Diamond and Ethel Korak Diamond's 2 daughters, as Claire arrived 6 years later. They grew up in the largely immigrant, ethnic, and upwardly mobile Jewish neighborhood of Glenville, where Margie learned to play piano quite well, so well, in fact, that she worked as the accompanist for the neighborhood ballet school in exchange for being able to take ballet lessons. She may not have realized it at the time, but her skill at the piano and her love of ballet were leading her to a lifelong enjoyment and love of the arts. She also loved school, where she was an excellent and enthusiastic student. She always loved children, and as a child herself, was a sought-after babysitter. The real test of her personal qualities, of her love for others, and her expansive capacity for caring, supporting, and nurturing others arrived in tragic form as Margie and Claire's mother died when Margie was a senior in high school and Claire was just 11 years old. Since Margie's passing, Claire has acknowledged repeatedly, "She was a mother to me, as well as my sister." Claire and Margie were remarkably close their whole lives. A day did not pass without speaking to each other until the very end. In all these years, a harsh word or argument never passed between them, and we are comforted by the presence of Margie's dear nephew, Eric, and of his and of her niece, Anna, and their family, as Steve is in South Africa sending his love from far away. But members of the Beale family are here in support and in memory of Claire. Forgive me a million times, of Margie. They are with Claire in support of her. Margie's pattern of care, concern, involvement, and attention was firmly set in these early years and played out again and again in her personal and professional relationships. There was something special about Margie, her warmth, her ability to establish close connections, her unwavering focus on another, her investment in relationships that made so many feel as the Davises did. She was a member of their family. It is a testament to her father that even with the tragic loss of their mother, David insisted that Margie go on to college at Floristone Mather and that Claire eventually continue her schooling as well. Before coming to this country, David had studied engineering at the University of Budapest. He was a powerful role model in other ways as well. He was so devoted to and concerned about the well-being of his children that he never remarried. Margie not only graduated from Floristone Mather with her teaching degree, she emerged with lifelong friends, some of whom are here today. But then, lifelong friends were the only kind of friends Margie had, even those she had just met 10 minutes before. She loved people. She was always optimistic, cheerful, upbeat. No matter how she might be feeling on the inside, she had a smile on her face and a warm hello for friends and strangers alike. She would talk to anyone, anywhere. Everyone was her friend. She never had an unkind word to say about another human being. The family called her Melanie, after the Olivia de Havilland character in Gone with the Wind, as Margie was unfailingly good, kind, loving, and positive. Even in the face of grievous loss and unspeakable tragedy, Margie maintained her good-natured, upbeat, sunny disposition and buoyant outlook. She was steadfast, undaunted, indomitable. She never bemoaned her fate, and she never complained. She lost her mother. She lost her son, Alan, when he was just 23. She lost her dear husband, Ed, 3 years after her son, when she was just 56 years old. She lost her dear partner, Norman, 4 years ago. Even as she sorely missed him, she bravely carried on as a true mother and grandmother to Richard and Robin and Sharon, Benjamin, Ariel, and Jacob. It was Claire who brought them together. She thought that Norman and Margie might be a good match, as they had both been widowed. Margie actually knew of Norm through the Cleveland Academy of Pharmacy, of which Ed had also been a member, and Richard is as well. Margie also knew of Norm through his children, who had been at the Northwood School. Claire told Sid Klein, the manager of the big Revco at Cedar and Fenwick. He mentioned it to Norman, who called Margie. They went for coffee. They talked and walked and walked and talked. They did this a few times and then started to see each other. They became good friends, wonderful companions, and loving partners. When Norm sold his house on Hillbrook, Margie offered him a room in her house on Fairmount. When she asked Elliot, "What would you think if I told you I was going away with a man?" he responded, "I won't tell anyone." Margie embraced Norm's family as her own. Richard started to see Robin at the same time that Margie and Norm began their relationship. Margie was a part of the Douglas family longer than Arlene had been a part of Sharon's life. Thus, Richard, Sharon, and Robin were true children of her heart. She forged strong bonds of maternal closeness with them all, and especially with Sharon, who never failed to call, to visit frequently, or to offer to do the shopping and other errands for her. And Sharon would regularly bring bagels on Sunday. Margie was there for Robin when their children were born, assisting and supporting both Richard and Robin in any way she could. They, in turn, hosted Margie and Norman frequently for dinner, often on Friday nights, where Margie loved to eat Chef Richard's delectable cuisine. Margie usually brought her delicious matzo ball soup, which could also be one of the featured highlights of any number of Jewish holiday or secular celebrations at Margie's house or Claire's or the Douglases. Other Margie specialties included her stuffed cabbage, made-from-scratch latkes, lemon jello mold, brisket, or chicken paprikash. As she embraced Norman's family, they embraced her in bonds of mutual caring, love, and support. In these last years in particular, Margie visited Norm daily for months at Montefiore, where the nurses were always so glad to see her, as they knew how tenderly she would care for Norm. In the aftermath of his passing, Sharon and Robin were attentive, caring, and loving daughters, in partnership with Elliot, who daily watched over her and supervised her care. She was a text person in everything she did, and we continue to learn from the lessons of her life. She embraced all that she did, not just her teaching, with the passion of her whole being and the wondrous enthusiasm of her second-grade charges. Margie loved music, the theater, and especially the opera. As a child, whenever the Metropolitan Opera came to town, her father would take her and Claire, and she was transported. She loved the ballet and never missed a performance of the Cleveland Ballet. She loved the Cleveland Orchestra and had a subscription to the concerts, where Norm enjoyed some great naps. She was an avid reader, loved country western music, Broadway shows, most any theater production, and the Cleveland Art Museum. She loved to cook, to swim, even to exercise at the senior class at the J 3 times a week. She would go with Norman, and they were the hit of the class. She loved dogs, especially Samson and then Lexi. She loved our sisterhood, where she served for many years on the board and as the corresponding secretary. In my mind's eye, I can see her sitting at the monthly board meetings, happy to be there and to be able to make a contribution to the congregation where Elliot and Terry were Jewishly educating their beautiful daughters, Rachel and Emily, whose bat mitzvah services I remember. They will share some thoughts about their grandmother in just a few moments. It is compelling to notice that Rachel is following in Margie's footsteps as she pursues a master's degree in early childhood education, and Emily, as a computer science major, is filling one of the few gaps in Margie's knowledge and education. I can still picture her meticulous handwriting in the beautiful personal notes she would write on behalf of our sisterhood. She also taught second grade in our religious school for many years. One of the great pleasures of her years with Norman was traveling. They went to Greece, Turkey, Russia, the Scandinavian countries, and Israel. They traveled in this country to the national parks, and with Margie's group of Floristone Mather friends and their husbands. After an aborted fishing expedition on Lake Erie, as the weather turned, they decided, this group of friends and spouses, they, Finn, and had it. The name stuck. What we need more than anything else is not textbooks, but text people. It is the personality of the teacher, which is the text we will never forget. She always had suitors, and in classic fashion, she met Ed Zeaman when she was dating one of his friends. He went off to war and served in Burma, India, China. Upon his return, he went back to school. They were married on June 26, 1949, right after Margie finished Floristone Mather. They moved to Columbus so Ed could finish pharmacy school at The Ohio State University, and Margie started teaching there. For a far too brief 32 years, they were partners, lovers, companions, friends. Together they welcomed the two greatest blessings of their lives, their children, Elliot and Alan. And rumor has it that the sun rose and set over Elliot. She was a wonderful mother, caring, attentive, supportive, encouraging, loving, and present. She did mostly substitute teaching when Elliot and Alan were growing up. She loved being their mother, even when Alan needed special attention. Elliot vividly remembers the annual summer camping trips, when they would rent a small cottage in Marblehead, Catawba. Ed would pack a trailer full of dishes, furnishings, and bedding, and for 2 weeks, Margie's vacation consisted of cooking, cleaning, washing, and helping everyone else enjoy their time away from it all. No one ever heard her complain or be annoyed or get angry. She welcomed and rejoiced in every day for its potential gifts and possibilities. Most recently, she was grateful that Jeannie had come into Elliot's life and delighted in calling her Margarine. No matter what any single day might bring, at the end of it, she knew that she was blessed. It is hard to fathom such an unfailingly resilient, insistent spirit. It is as if at some fundamental place, Margie understood that teaching was not something she did. It was something she was. In every action, reaction, and interaction, she had the opportunity to model and exemplify a way of being, of affecting others, of living that could positively impact every person whose life touched hers. Our hearts go out to the entire family, even as we recognize Elliot's particular loss, as his life was bound up with Margie's every day of these last 3 years, as he did for her what she had done for him and for so many. He watched over her, protected her, provided for her care and comfort, and helped her reach the end of her days with dignity, grace, and the knowledge that she was loved and cherished. It is somehow mystically appropriate that we should be offering our final farewell to Margie during our festival of Hanukkah. Tonight we will light all 8 lights for the final night of our celebration. The rabbis, in fact, designated the final night as its own observance, which they called Zot Hanukkah, meaning this is Hanukkah. In the fullness of its observance, with all 8 lights shining in the darkness of our winter night, with faith, hope, optimism, and bravery, we can say, this is the essence of Hanukkah. This is what it is truly about. And so do we say of Margie, in the fullness of her being, her good, kind, always interested, always attentive, concerned, and caring being, her passion, devotion, and sustaining love. Zot Margie. This is Margie for all eternity, the text person of our lives. Zichrona livracha. May the memory of her rest as a blessing upon us. And let us say, Amen. It is a fearful thing to love what death can touch. A fearful thing to love, hope, dream, to be and oh, to lose. A thing for fools this, and a holy thing to love. For your life has lived in me, your laugh once lifted me, your word was gift to me. To remember this brings painful joy. 'Tis a human thing, love, a holy thing, to love what death has touched. I call now on Margie's granddaughters, Rachel and Emily, to share their thoughts with us.
We all know how incredibly loving, caring, and giving our grandma was. She was a teacher for over 30 years, and I can only imagine how much her students loved her. I hope to continue this legacy of hers as I become a teacher in just a few short months. She had so much love for her family, especially for me and Emily, and our dog Lexi. There was never a time when our grandma didn't come over with 10 treats in her pocket. I would always say, "Grandma, just one. She's going to get fat." Our grandma insisted on giving Lexi all 10. Almost the same for Emily and I. She always had treats for us as well. There was never a time she didn't offer us dessert. Her house was always stocked with goodies. We spent so many holidays together, with her delicious matzo ball soup, Thanksgiving, and Hanukkah dinners. As everyone knew, she would always have the table set for any holiday 3 weeks in advance. We will always remember the incredibly fun times we had together, from Disney World to Disney cruises to our birthdays and the pool on the park near her house. She would always have her closet stocked with Polly Pockets and school supplies, mine and Emily's two favorite things. We were always playing board games, Uno, or Go Fish at her house or ours. We will never forget how proud she was of Emily and I as we celebrated our bat mitzvahs. Our grandma loved nothing more than spending time with people, and she was always so friendly to anyone who she crossed paths with. She was an incredible woman who left such a lasting impact on so many. We will miss her dearly.
As Rachel mentioned, we absolutely loved going over to Grandma's house to have sleepovers, play games, and celebrate holidays. One of her favorite things to do when we were at her house was watch the deer and count how many animals she saw in her backyard, and I will always miss hearing her stories and her excitement about how many she saw that day. Whenever we saw her, she always had a smile on her face. She was one of the most caring people and had unconditional love and kindness for everyone in her life. She made everyone's days and lives brighter, and this is something that I'll truly miss. I'm really happy Rachel could carry on her teaching legacy, and I know she's proud of you. I hope to instill Grandma's love and kindness in my own life every single day. We love and will always miss you, Grandma.
I would like to thank everyone for coming today to bid farewell to my mother. I am overwhelmed by the love and support that you have shown to my family and me. My mother would be so honored to see all of you here this afternoon to share her happy memories. Few people here know that my mother's middle name was Joyce. How appropriate that the first 3 letters of her name spelled joy, because that was what epitomized her. She was forever filled with a sense of joy, and she shared that joy with all she spent time with. Even through unexpected events in her life, she never lost her joy. Growing up, everyone thinks that their mom is the best mom, but Alan and I knew that our mom was the best mom because our friends told us so. When my friends walked through the door, her warmth, smile, and kindness always made them feel like they were part of the family. I also remember how envious they were when my mother would constantly pack me 2 corned beef sandwiches for my school lunches, while they were left to eat PB&J, tuna fish, or leftovers. My mother was fantastic. I never experienced a day in my life doubting her love or how proud she was of me. Always offering her unwavering support, always the eternal optimist, she taught me life lessons that are forever instilled within me. I thank her for the sacrifices that she made to ensure that my life was always comfortable. Her infectious smile, sweet voice, and genuine caring concern for all made her many friends along the way. Because of her inquisitive nature, she had the ability to strike up a conversation with a stranger as if they were best friends. This personality trait, coupled with her remarkable ability to reach children, carried her through her distinguished teaching career. Her enthusiasm for teaching never wavered. I find it truly remarkable that some of her students and their parents have stayed in contact with her through the many years. She had a beautiful family to share life with. It extended from my father for over 35 years, and then with Norman for another 25. Ironic that they were both pharmacists. She treasured her beloved sister Claire and spoke daily with her. Always living close by, they were able to easily share in everyday events. They frequently enjoyed attending various fine art performances, including the theater, movies, opera, and more. She cherished her grandchildren, Rachel and Emily, and she always was so proud and supportive of their accomplishments. She never missed the opportunity to attend a concert, gymnastics competition, or a performance. Through the years, they always appreciated visiting her to eat her delicious matzo ball soup, meatloaf, brisket, or potato pancakes, as well as play her favorite board games and cards. Call her at the spur of the moment, and Mom was always available to run over and stay with the girls. And she had the opportunity to visit one of her favorite four-legged friends, Lexi. Of course, growing up, who could not forget our family dog, Samson, that she adored. Her love of family always left her in communication with her nephews, Eric, Stephen, and their families. She never missed an opportunity to visit when they came into town. My mother also regarded the Douglases, Richard, Robin, Sharon, Ben, Jake, and Ariel, as their step-family. They were so thoughtful to include her in many and all of their activities. There is so much that we're going to miss about my incredible mother. So let's end by saying, may her memory be a blessing to all of you. Amen.
Thank you for those beautiful tributes to your mother and grandmother. The family has asked that I share with you that following internment at Mayfield Cemetery, they will be receiving friends at Landerhaven 6111 Landerhaven Drive in Mayfield Heights until 6 o'clock today. Contributions may be made to the Alzheimer's Association, Cleveland chapter. O God, you give us loved ones, and make them the strength of our life, the light of our eyes. They depart and leave us bereft on a lonely way, but you are the living fountain from which our healing flows. To you the stricken look for comfort and the sorrow-laden for consolation. O God, we see life as through windows that open on eternity. We see that love endures and the soul endures as you, O God, endure forever. We see that the years are more than grass that withers, more than flowers that fade. They weave a timeless pattern in a world that is the dwelling place of your love and glory. Please rise. Male rachamim shochen Bamromi Ametzei menucha nechona Tachat kanvei hashchina Im kedoshim utehorim Kizorakia Mazirim Et nishmat chayalea bat David v'Esther shalcha leolama. Bal rachamim yastireha b'seit agnav leolamim. Et nishmata Adonai unachalata ותנוח בשלום על משכבה, ונאמר Amen. Compassionate God, eternal Spirit of the universe, grant perfect rest in your sheltering presence to Marjorie Zeaman, who has entered eternity. O God of mercy, let her find refuge in your eternal presence, and let her soul be bound up in the bond of everlasting life. God is her inheritance. May she rest in peace. And let us say, Amen.